My Science Project is a 1985 sci-fi comedy from director Jonathan Bittell. The movie opens with a static shot of space. We can't see anything, but it sounds like something really exciting is going on.
The bogey is going down.
Geez, the movie just started and they already ran out of money? In 1957, the US shot down an alien craft. Then, 40 years later, on July 3rd, they've returned and... Oh, I'm sorry, wrong movie. The craft's being stored at Dawson Air Force Base. How many times do you think they smashed that phone with the fence? Couldn't they have moved it over a few more inches? It looks like the guys at the base are having another rave. They show a surprisingly good Eisenhower lookalike, the spacecraft. Maybe you could stop welding for 5 minutes while the president's here? The general tells the president this is one of the most important discoveries in human history. What should we do?
Get rid of it. Right away, sir.
Oh, brilliant. You heard the man. Fire lasers at it. Cut to 1985. Our lovable gearhead hero, Mike Harlan, is late for class. Actually, he's about 6 years late, considering the actor's 24. Let me check, is this supposed to be college? Nope, it says high school. The teacher, Bob, is asking the class about their science projects. Bob tells Mike he won't graduate unless he finishes his project. Then he takes a moment to get high. Dennis Hopper playing a hippie teacher. Not too much of a stretch. Mike goes to see his girlfriend Crystal, who breaks up with him.
We must seek different destinies, Michael.
I have an audition to roll around on the top of a Jaguar XJ. The kids are standing around outside a high school. Why is there an echo?
Wait a second. Come on, talk English, will you, Crystal? Huh?
Sherman's trying to ask Ellie to the prom, but she's more interested in Mike. She asks him a bunch of questions for the yearbook.
All right, how many times do you Jedi?
How many times do you Jedi?
All right, how many times do you Jedi?
It seems all he's interested in is cars. I just hope he doesn't mean like this guy. Mike is talking to his buddy Vinny. I always wondered what the plague was like in high school.
Poor girl lost out. She called me a word I had to look up in the dictionary.
I didn't know douchebag was in the dictionary. Ellie wants to get Mike's attention, so she stalls her car at the exit. She's the obligatory pretty ugly girl, so I'm expecting a complete makeover later when she loses her retainer and glasses. Mike fixes her car, which pisses off Sherman.
Show off.
What a show-off! What he should have done was sit in his car and honk the horn. Now that she has his attention, she asks him for a date. Mike heads home to find his father messing around with the Mary Kay lady, I think? Oh, they couldn't get the rights to Mary Kay, so it's Betty Jo. That night for the date, Mike takes Ellie to the Dawson Air Force Base, which is now an aircraft graveyard. Mike's looking for something to use as his science project instead of, just building something. They walk around for a while, and I hope they don't get caught in the crossfire over a crystal dream exchange. Mike falls in an old fallout shelter. Snakes. Why'd it have to be snakes? This attracted the attention of security. Mike searches the bunker and finds a piece of the spacecraft. While he's looking at it, it drains the batteries out of the flashlight. Mike returns, but the guards seize them, so they escape. They're driving back, and the device drains all the power from the car's battery. But it somehow still has enough for the interior door lights. A trucker passes, and Mike uses her CB to call Vinny to save him from the ultimate embarrassment. His car breaking down. Vinny's messing around with Cyndi Lauper and stops to go rescue Mike. Sherman's waiting outside Ellie's home. Ah, the 80s, when stalking was considered normal adolescent behavior. Although these guys took it to a whole new level. Group stalking. Despite almost being arrested for trespassing, Ellie has a good time and wants to see Mike again. The next day, Mike cleans off the device and starts to mess with the controls. Wow, look at this thing! Let's call it a plasma ball and sell it at Hot Topic. We'll be rich! At no point does he consider messing around with something he found on a military base a bad idea. They hook it up to a car battery and it goes haywire. Then it teleports in a vase. Mr. Harlan, what should we do?
Just unplug the goddamn thing.
The device also teleported in some futuristic axe. They leave and find out they traveled 2 hours into the future. They go to talk to Bob, but he's upset they missed his class.
Unless your project is Dino Supreme, you both get D's.
Hey, I'll take it.
These nuts. They convince him to stop by the school later to see the science project. Mike needs to use the phone. Our heroes, ladies and gentlemen. He calls Ellie to ask her on another date, but to bring her camera. Did they do dick pics back then? Lou and Dolores eloped, and now the Harlan house has become the Betty Jo warehouse. Mike and Vinny break into the school to get the device, or instead of that, they could have just brought it with them when they left the school earlier. This movie now owes Disney $10 million. They bring the device to show Bob. Of course Bob knows what this is. It's a tripping tool. Bob takes out a metal specter to try to figure out what kind of metal it is. Well, I thought it was going to say Exodus, but here it says it's nuclear assault. Bob hooks it up to a bigger battery, and now it starts messing with time and space. It needs more power! So he hooks it into an outlet and gets really messed up.
Just unplug the goddamn thing.
They need to stop the device from getting electricity, so instead of unplugging it, they're gonna blow up some local power lines. He goes to his father's hardware store, and I didn't know True Value stocked dynamite. Mike then somehow outruns electricity. They blow up an electrical tower and stop the device. For now. The police are investigating the school, so they can't retrieve the device. Ah, young, nerdy love.
My retainer.
Mike sneaks into his room, and there's someone waiting for him. What parent would let a detective ambush their kid in his bedroom? And why is he only wearing a towel? Ah, no. Does this have something to do with Corey Haim stealing her father's car? For some reason, even though the detective says he has nothing.
What's the charge?
Oh, yeah, what's the charge? No charge.
He still arrests Mike and Vinny. Ellie tries to get the device, but Sherman stops her. Wouldn't the police have this place taped off as a crime scene? And wouldn't they have put out the fires? Back at the police station.
Hey kid, why do you wear sunglasses at night?
I believe the correct answer is, so I can watch you weave and breathe your storylines. Sherman plugs the device back in. The power goes out and the guys escape. Above the high school, it looks like Zool's getting ready to make an appearance. The guys find Sherman, who tells them what happened. They go into the school, which is stuck in the time warp. They see people from the past and future, and Vinny has the hots for Cleopatra.
These are optical delusions, like ghosts, so it's cool.
Can we leave Vinny in the past? Preferably during the Black Plague or something? Just then, a Cro-Magnon man attacks them.
Monkey!
They run into a Roman gladiator who fights them, and Mike kills him. He just had to stab this guy to death. Movie's gonna end with Mike going in for years of therapy. They run into some Viet Cong, so they beat them up and steal their guns. If it wasn't already apparent that Sherman was a knockoff of Lewis from Revenge of the Nerds, this seals it. They enter a new place with mutants from the future. They go to the auditorium and run into a T-Rex. Please eat him. They unload on it, and I wasn't aware dinosaurs are bulletproof. Well, at least it wasn't grenade-proof.
I am Turok.
Mike rescues Ellie. The mutants are trying to break into the room, so Mike goes to turn off the device. He cuts the power and... this makes him disappear. And reappear. They go outside and get stopped by the detective. He lets them go despite breaking out of jail and stealing a police car. Bob also made it back and gives him an A on his project. Mike then returns the device to the Air Force Base. You'd think they would have fixed that hole in the fence. While driving back to town, they run out of gas. Mike and Ellie walk into town, and the car does this for some reason. We should have listened to you. The movie was filmed mostly in Tucson, Arizona, and Van Nuys, California. After The Last Starfighter was a sleeper hit in 1984, writer Jonathan Battelle was given an offer to direct. While The Last Starfighter was praised, my science project was panned and it opened in 14th place. By the end of its run, it only pulled in a little over $4 million. He didn't direct again until 1995 with Theodore Rex, which effectively ended his directorial career. Dennis Hopper played the peace-loving hippie teacher Bob. The outfit he wore at the end after returning from the 60s was intentionally similar to the one he wore in Easy Rider. They had an opening planned with alien puppets and even had Frank Welker record audio for the aliens. Unfortunately, they didn't have enough in the budget and weren't able to shoot it, which is why the opening is just a static shot with background audio. At one point, Vinny says,
You know, I seen this movie where this haunted car flames guys out.
Which was a reference to the killer car movie Christine, which starred John Stockwell. While the movie flopped when it first came out, it has gone on to minor cult status. Some of the effects are a little corny, but I've always been a fan of opticals, and this movie has tons. Plus, I think the puppet T-Rex is impressive, especially when you consider this was a very low-budget movie. I like the concept behind the movie, but I felt they never fully realized it. The group interacting with things from the past and future was cool, and there just wasn't enough of it. Battelle did a solid job for a first-time director, it's just that he may have written the script to be a little too ambitious. The cast was good, and they even had two awesome that guys. Michael Berryman is one of the mutants, and Ali Young is one of the Viet Cong. My science project is a time warp straight to the epicenter of the 80s. It's got muscle cars, rebellious 20-somethings playing teenagers, violence, silly gadgets, and an overabundance of terrible one-liners from an unlikable hero.
You ain't exactly been the perfect date, Reenie.
Since when?
Since it's 10 o'clock and you still ain't turned into a pepperoni pizza.